Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be giving a tier list ranking to the Resident Evil games that I have played. Now, this will include 0 through 8, Code Veronica X / Code Veronica, and the remakes 1, 2, 3, and 4 remake. Let's jump into it. And we're going to start with the D tier. We'll work our way up from D to the S tier. Starting out, only game in the D tier, Resident Evil 6. Now, here's the thing about Resident Evil 6. This is the only game on this list that I know I have played and yet have no recollection of doing so. The only conclusion I come to is that I simply just did not enjoy this game at all. That is why it is at the bottom of the list. And now, moving on up to C tier. We have Resident Evil 0. I originally played this game when it released back in 2002 on the GameCube. I remember really liking it at the time. However, I tried to go back about 5 years ago, play it again, and I ended up quitting the game. A few hours in, I just was not enjoying it. I'm putting it to C tier. Also with the C tier, there, right there. Okay. Resident Evil 5. I think Resident Evil 5 is a great co-op game. It's also, to me, a prime example of how I feel about Resident Evil games from the mid-2020s to mid-2010s. Just nothing remarkable. Now we're moving on to the B tier. And first, B tier, first game, Resident Evil Village. Lots of fun, but also very middle of the pack for me. At the same time, though, it is clearly heads and tails above that mid-2000s, the mid-2010s era that I just mentioned. I do enjoy this game. Like I said, I do actually enjoy this game. I think it's very much fun. But at the same time, it's not a Resident Evil game that is anywhere near a great to exceptional game for me. Just above Village, just barely, is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Why wouldn't you let me put you where I want you? No, we'll just do this. There you go. All right. Some people say that this game saved the franchise. I say rejuvenated it. The reason it's above Village is that I believe it is a better survival horror game than Village is an action horror game. And I do prefer the survival horror Resident Evils more so than I do the action horror Resident Evils. So with these two, I kind of go back and forth and on which one I do enjoy playing more. So honestly, these two could very easily flip-flop, just on my preference that day, how the wind blows, any of that stuff. Put Resident Evil 7 there. Next game is going to be Resident Evil 3 Remake. I don't think this game is nearly anywhere near as bad as others do. I find it actually quite enjoyable to play. Unfortunately, I think the main issues with this game is that it's not just how much it differs from the original 3 Nemesis that hurts it, but also the fact that it is sandwiched between 2 Remake and 4 Remake in a sense, and those games are absolutely phenomenal. I do think that if, only if 2 Remake had been as great as it was, that 3 Remake would not be viewed as negatively as it is. All right, so now we're going to move on to possibly the most controversial opinion I have. To the A tiers, Resident Evil 4 OG. Some people say this is the greatest game of all time, let alone the greatest Resident Evil game of all time. Now, to me, the only reason I'm putting it in the A tier is because of the respect I have for its design and the influence it's had on games. But to be honest, I've actually never really enjoyed This game, I could actually say that this game was kind of the start of that unremarkable era of Resident Evil games. To me, and to be honest, I could very easily put this game right here. I'm going to show it the respect it deserves by putting it in the A tier. But I will tell you this much right now. I would prefer to play Remake 7 and 8 over 4 OG any day of the week. Next up, we Code Veronica X. Play the original version. That was actually just titled Code Veronica. It was released on the Dreamcast back in 2000. And then the this version, Code Veronica X, was released a year later on PS2. I think it's maybe some other consoles. I played on PS. That's what I played on, was PS2. At the time, I remember both the original and both Code Veronica and Code Veronica X. I remember really enjoying them at the time, and actually just recently went back this about in the past week or last week, replayed it on my stream. I still really enjoyed it, and I think it's a game that, with more consistent playthroughs, I could see myself moving it even higher on my list. After Code Veronica, we're going to go with OG Resident Evil, the game that started it all. Now, to me, the greatest achievement of this game is that it is the basis for not only the greatest Resident Evil games of all time, but some of the greatest games of all time in general. Recently, we played this game a few months ago, and while I can understand how some others prefer the more modern day controls, spoiler for S tier, but the difference between my range and the couple of games in S tier, I prefer modern day controls as well. To me, the game very much still holds up to this day. Finally, rounding out the A tier, we have Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, OG Resident Evil 3. I think a lot of people actually have this game in their S tier. I know a lot of people, this is like up there as their favorite Resident Evil game. And one of the things for me is that I just have not played this game enough, I feel, to rank it higher at this point. There is also one other drawback that I have to the game, and that is that there's this music box puzzle, which I believe is solution to be random depending on which version of the game you're having. If you have a certain version of the game, then the solution is either like, there's like 3 different solutions, but I think if you have a different another version of it, then the solution is completely random. I believe I have the random solution because I tried to play this about a year ago, and I got to that music box puzzle and I just got stuck. And it's why I stopped playing. I just was getting so frustrated at this puzzle. So, that's kind of like the main drawback on that game to me. I think if I could find the version where the solution, isn't randomized, I would probably play the game more often. I would probably enjoy it a lot more. And much like Code Veronica X, it would probably be a lot higher on my list. All right, welcome to the S tier. Now, for me, to put a game in the S tier, I personally have to give it a rating of 9.5 or higher. This game just barely makes that qualification. It is Resident Evil 4 Remake. It is a 9.5 to me. To me, this is the far superior version of Resident Evil 4. I think the gameplay is better. I think the combat is more fluid and more fun. Ashley is way less of a nuisance. This is the one game for the remakes that, because of this game, there is a strong possibility that I will never go back and play Resident Evil 4 Original ever again. Okay? I will still play 2 Original and 2 Remake. I will still play 3 Original and 3 Remake. I will still play one original and one remake. I have no interest in ever playing 4 original again. And large part of it is the fact that I just think that this is just way, way, way better of a game. Next two, I'm just going to do them both up at the same time because they are that close to me. That is 2 original and 2 remake. The main difference really in these games is that, as I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about OG Resident Evil and how I prefer modern controls over the tank controls. That is it. That is the main, well, there's 2 main differences of why that is like the main difference of why I'm putting 2 remake just slightly ahead of 2 original. But also the other like difference in these games really is that if I'm doing a basic vanilla playthrough of these games, I prefer to play 2 remake. For randomizers, I actually prefer 2 original. You know, these games they're so very close to me. We're literally talking that 2 original is a 9.7 to me. 2 remake is a 9.71. They're that close. They might be the 2 closest games of any video games to me ever. I'd have to really think about that, you know. Definitely the 2 closest games on this list. Lastly, the only Resident Evil game that I feel is a 10, top 5 greatest game of all time to me, Resident Evil Remake. It is the greatest survival horror game of all time. I said it's already one of the greatest games of all time. It is the one game on this list that I do not think would benefit from a remake in any way. Now, let me be clear on this, all right? I think a modern day remake of original Resident Evil has great potential. I think that a remake of Resident Evil Remake, it just has no conceptual appeal to me at all. So yeah, those are my rankings for the Resident Evil games that I have played. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Also, stay tuned, for I will be doing a rankings of these Resident Evil games that I have not played, and I will be ranking them based on my interest of how much I want to play them. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you again. Goodbye.